Hi, this is Wasabi. Welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another video guide on the equipment system, and this video is going to be around the equipment for heavy tanks, just to follow on from the previous one on medium tanks. So to get the most variety, we're going to be looking at the tiers above tier 5, and just to show again the priority slots and how to select equipment for the tanks that you're choosing. So again, I've taken a tank that I haven't played yet, and it's only got a standard crew, 100% trained, but with no skills or perks. So all of the attributes of the performance characteristics are based on the base tank itself, based on 100% crew. So let's go into the equipment system. So click on the equipment slot, and again, the priority slot is the first slot on the left. It's always going to be the first slot, at least in what we know of the current system. That might change in the future, who knows? Maybe additional slots will get different priorities. But this particular one for heavy tanks, the category is survivability. So you can see that square block there. And again, if we want to choose equipment that is specific to this slot, go up and choose the matching filter from the top there, and it shows you the only choices you have for the particular tank and tier that you've selected that match that particular criteria. Now, you'll also notice, as I mentioned in the previous video, there are icons in each equipment descriptor which tell you what a particular speciality is suitable for. So you see improved ventilation is suitable for all specialities, and the particular one that gives it a bonus is also highlighted with a glowing character or a glowing icon. Some equipment is suitable for that slot in terms of the type of attribute that it has, but if it's not a glowing box, then it means that you're not going to get any additional bonus for having that equipment in that particular slot. So you might then consider not to put that equipment in the priority slot because you won't get the additional bonus. But in this case, all of the choices we have are giving a bonus. And again, the bonus is indicated by having the glowing percentage amount and effect. So if we perhaps undo the filter so that we've got all options there, you can see I could put any equipment in this slot, but anything that's shown in a non-sort of glowing character, while it would go in that slot, doesn't have any additional bonus because the characters aren't glowing. So let's go back to our survivability options. Again, improved ventilation, as we talked about in the medium tank one, while it's useful across all crew skills, it's a generalist one, so it's only giving a minor benefit, and we won't consider it for this one. So let's have a look at the other choices you've got. So the first one you probably want to consider is called improved hardening. The main benefit of this one is actually to increase the vehicle hit points. So before we select it, let's have a look at our survivability category, which is obviously the one that we want to affect. And this particular tank in its base configuration has got 1230 hit points. So if we select that particular piece of equipment and it goes in the slot, as you can see down the bottom there, it's gone up to 1360 hit points. So basically a 10% increase, in this case, 130 odd hit points, obviously, because it was 1230 before. So you're getting what's equivalent to one extra hit's worth of damage, and potentially, gives you that saving grace to escape without losing all your hit points. So that's one benefit of it. And then there's a couple of other benefits to it. If we highlight the thing, we see actually quite a long list of them. So if you look at the bonus to vehicle characteristics there, we've got, and we'll focus on the second column because that's in the bonus slot, those values. So 10% of vehicle hit points we talked about, which is rounded upwards. 65% bonus to suspension durability. So that's basically saying your suspension as a hitbox is going to increase its hit points by 65%. That means you could take damage to your suspension and not necessarily have a break until another damaging shot came in, depending on whether the damage roll has exceeded the hit points of the suspension hitbox or not. Then you're getting 20% benefit to suspension repair speed. So regardless of your crew skills in terms of repair or any additional capabilities like toolbox, you're getting a base 20% improvement in suspension repair speed. So something that would take 5 seconds to repair is approximately going to take around 4 seconds or just over 4 seconds to repair instead. So you're getting a reasonable improvement in repair speed, and it could cause you to decide not to take some additional skills. Then you've got some additional suspension load capacity, and this might be sufficient if you're, particularly when you're starting out and just starting off with a stock tank, and you've got some research experience and you want to add some additional capabilities, but you generally have to add the tracks first before you upgraded tracks before you can add any more modules. This might allow you to take, for example, an upgraded turret or an upgraded gun, depending on what the choices were. So that additional 10% suspension load capacity could be a useful characteristic. And then finally, a 65% reduction to hull damage caused by suspension damage during impact. So impact is when you have hit something, so ramming another vehicle, for example, or perhaps even crashing off the edge of a cliff, or trying to control your descent down a cliff. Sometimes when you hit the bottom, you end up causing damage to yourself. So this could make that actual impact a whole lot less and reduce the damage that you take in through either those sort of effects on you. So that could be quite a useful option for most people. The thing that you might have considered in the past for a heavy tank is spall liner, and we know that some tank types, particularly the slow-moving ones, might consider spall liner to be a more appropriate thing. So again, it comes down to your preferences here. I'm going to make this point several times in the videos, that a lot of the choices here really come down to how you want to play your tank, what, in terms of the way you play it, what you think your biggest risks are in the game, and choosing equipment to help you address those risks. So in this particular case, spall liner may not be necessarily for the particular vehicle we're looking at, but nonetheless it can reduce the damage from high explosive shells and ramming by 60%, give increased protection to the crew from injuries from high explosive, and reduce stun duration by 15%. So again, if you're expecting to get hit, or you are often hit by arty, you might consider that as a function. But again, that's really a lot down to the style of your gameplay and how basically much you see that as a risk during the game. So let's look at the last choice there, modified configuration. And again, this has got a range of benefits to it. So we'll just highlight that. We've got, again, an increase in repair speeds. In this case, it's a 35% increase to repair speed, and the repair meaning repair across whatever the damage is. So it doesn't have to be tracks. It could be your damaged fuel tanks, or your damaged ammo rack, or your damaged engine. So that will actually help repair those things. To the ammo rack, fuel tank, and engine durability, you're getting 150% bonus, and this is a massive difference. This is basically saying that in the past, where, let's say, one damaging hit could destroy your ammo rack and therefore destroy your tank, this is saying you're getting an additional 150% of hit points to that thing. So they've got to do at least 2 full hits to be able to destroy that ammo rack or fuel tank or engine, depending on what the particular option is. So that's a pretty massive change. Then you get, we've just moved that around. 65% reduction to the chance of engine fire, and 65% reduction to the loading speed penalty and loss of engine power upon the damage of modules. So that's when your gun is loaded, your ammo rack is damaged. It's a reduction of the time penalty of loading or reloading the gun once you've fired. It's actually mitigating the aspect of the ammo rack damage that you would often get. So why would you use this? So think about, even though your repair modules have got a cooldown and available to you again once you've used them, this is basically saying, well, I could have just been damaged and applied my repair kit, and here this is giving me the opportunity to, I've just had my gun damaged again, I can't repair it again straight away, but again, I'm not getting as big a penalty. In fact, this is more than half of the time taken that it's adding is going to be reduced. So you can perhaps deal with the problem that the slower loading gun would give you with this one. So that's actually, I think, pretty interesting choice for a heavy tank. So we actually might equip that one. Now, if you look at the survivability index over here, it doesn't change any of the parameters there, but you're basically getting the effects of those capabilities on the ability of your tank to deal with damage once it's received it. All right, so that's our priority slot. Actually, didn't go in, did it? So let's pick it up. So again, sorry, survivability has those benefits are listed underneath as additional benefits beyond the hit points and armor characteristics. So well, let's have a look at the second slot. And again, the last two slots, you're pretty much saying, all right, well, what characteristics do I really want this tank to have? So you could open up, remove your filters and look at all of the choices. Or you could say, well, I'm done with those survivability ones. Let's have a look at the firepower one. I think that one is, yeah, firepower. So again, your choices are ventilation, improved rotation mechanism, enhanced gun laying drive, gun rammer, and improved aiming. So again, so pretty common for a heavy tank is a gun rammer because they typically have long load times. So let's have a look at this particular tank. It has an 11.79 second gun loading time. So we might say, right, gun rammer is a good choice to put for one of the last two slots. And you might have a look at the other choices. If we go to the next slot, we might say, right, well, we still want firepower to be our choice, or we could have a look at mobility choices, and we can combine the two and just make a broader decision there. So we could say, all right, well, not really happy with the aiming dispersion. I could choose this improved aiming, but to tell you the truth, I don't think that's going to get used a lot. It's a 5% bonus to aiming, so you can see that's reduced us from 0.44 to 0.42. It's not really a huge difference, so let's just remove that. We've got a gun rammer. Interesting why it's giving this that choice, because it's already there, but maybe it's because we haven't actually applied it to the tank yet, so that's not showing us that it's an option that we shouldn't really choose. If this tank is relatively mobile, or in fact, well, there's two choices here. If the tank is really, really slow, like a TOG or a T95 or something like that, it's got a really low top speed, getting a fixed bonus to the top speed is actually pretty useful. As part of below this, the engine power increase to give you some additional acceleration. When you've got a top speed of say 20 kilometers per hour, getting that up to 24 is actually a big percentage change for a very slow tank. But on the flip side, you might be saying, well, I just need a bit of extra speed to make sure I can get to my advantage points on the map before I'm spotted or before the enemy tanks get into position. And if we just scroll down to mobility, you can see this vehicle's got a 30 kilometer hour top speed and 14 in reverse. So you could say, oh, I could get it to 34 kilometers per hour. Maybe it doesn't make big enough a difference to make it worthwhile. So perhaps we'll put that aside for the moment. And if we scroll up and look at our aim time, we can say, is this an acceptable aim time? 3.26 seconds? Not really. That's going to be hard, particularly when you're traversing the turret and a lot, selecting between targets, you're not really going to get a good snapshot capability. So we might say, even though enhanced gun laying drive doesn't really start until you're settled on the thing, that's really our only additional aiming thing. So we might add that to bring the aiming time down, and that gets it down to below 3 seconds with that. So again, that's pretty much how you consider the choices for a heavy tank. We didn't actually talk about the last option there, improved rotation mechanism. This is if you have a very slow moving turret, or in fact the vehicle itself is slow moving, you might consider that. This does have a relatively slow gun traverse speed, 26 degrees per second. That's pretty common amongst heavy tanks. You just got to consider, is that a real risk to the style of gameplay that I've got, and does it make a huge difference? It does give you an additional impact on dispersion though, and this is something to consider. If you are going to be switching targets a lot, just rotating the turret, this might be an interesting choice. In fact, it might be a better choice overall than the enhanced gun laying drive. What the 10% reduction is in 10% reduction in the bloom that you get in the aiming circle when you do rotate your turret. So you're already starting from a smaller aiming circle before the gun aiming takes place. So even though your aiming speed goes back up to the normal, the fact that you're pretty much aiming from a point of movement gives you some advantage there. So that might be an interesting choice here, and let's have a look at the impact of that. So you can see we do have an improvement in the gun traverse speed. It's added a couple of degrees per second, and it's just noted here a reduction of 10% dispersion during movement. So this also enhances your ability to shoot on the move, but you'd probably want to align that with additional skills. So if your gunner's got snapshot, for example, then that would stack with that to give you a benefit there. So that's pretty much it from a heavy tank perspective. Again, there are probably other options that you might want to look at, but I'll let you traverse the equipment system now that you've got a bit of a heads up about how to use it. You can see that all of these choices have we made. It summarizes how much we've taken from the depot, how much total credits we're going to spend, and it's not committing it until you hit the apply button. So it's giving you a pretty good choice of how to operate. So we can say, right, well, I don't know what to actually fit these for the moment. I'll cancel these out and we'll go back to the tank as it stood before we started. So I suppose only one other thing to add we haven't really mentioned so far. If we have bounty equipment or bond equipment. So let's have a last piece on that. And you can see here we've got choices of bounty ventilation and bond equipment. And obviously it's only highlighting things that are available to us to mount. So if we've got them, but they're mounted on vehicles, or then we haven't purchased them, then they won't be available to us. So I suppose the point to make is it doesn't matter which slot you put it in, it only gets a fixed bonus. So even though it's got an improved bonus over the base component, improved venting system or bounty ventilation, and you'll notice there is an improvement in the bond equipment over bounty equipment, but I wouldn't put those in the priority slot because then you're not taking advantage of any additional bonus there. So only put these ones in slots 2 and 3. All right, so that's basically it for this video. Again, if you've got any comments or you want any additional information explained, please leave your comments down below, and welcome back to the channel from before, and we'll hope to see you again. So thanks very much.